Hello, it's a dark episode for May the 13th, 2022. Jay here. I have been listening to The Token Professor. Actually, I've been listening to The Token Professor for a good number of years, or at least I kind of dip in and out. I listen to him. He is Corey Olson, who is deep into to studying, talking about Tolkien and all his works. And he's a professor. He is a actual you get from his stuff that he is an actual college professor who's invested a lot of his life into studying about Tolkien. And I listened to him. He did a read of the Silmarillion, which is always a work that I had a little trouble getting into, and going through it with him, like a sort of section by section, reading it and then listening to him talk about it, was a really enriching thing, and it helped me get into the kind of the radically different kind of myth kind of state that you need for that versus the kind of more narrative works of The Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. So I really appreciated that. I found his series when they were talking about the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies was really interesting and entertaining. And they used what were the interesting choices made by Peter Jackson in that movie to really kind of go into a deeper discussion of The Hobbit. So I found that actually quite valuable. It wasn't just we're going to dunk on the terrible movies. Maybe there was a bit of that, but there was also just a lot of good discussion about The Hobbit and about the various aspects of it. You get to hear more about the book in a way that was like really interesting. And so he has started off another little subsection this time on for the upcoming Amazon Rings of Power thing, which is going to be adapting using kind of I don't think it's a Silmarillion, it's sort of the appendices of the Lord of the Rings and some other things to talk about a time before Lord of the Rings, before The Hobbit, not kind of creation myth at the very beginning, but kind of more of a transitory period, which actually has it's very sparse in the amount of detail, the narrative detail, so they could do a lot with it, which is all really good. It's sort of really fascinating to just get a little deep dive into stuff like this, and for them to kind of like seriously consider the adaptation process of, look, they are people who are deeply invested in Tolkien, but they also seem to be fairly quite aware that a book is one thing and a TV series is very much another thing, and you can make different. You're going to have to make choices there, and how to dramatize things, and and the fact that Tolkien had multiple different versions of things, and all that, which is really great. Which leads us to this week, where they come on and they say, "Oh wow, well, Amazon had invited us and a bunch of other Tolkien experts to England, to Oxford, to get to see some clips, some upcoming clips of the shows that they can't talk about in detail, and to meet with the showrunners and get to ask the showrunners questions and things like that." Which is, my heart rather sank at that, because it's like, I don't doubt the integrity of Corey Olson and the person that they kind of co-hosting with, whose name I should know her name. Leo, I don't know what you're doing over there, but I'd kind of prefer if you got out of there. Come on. What are you doing? Come on. Um, you know, but it's like, oh, so did Amazon pay for your plane tickets over to London? Because I don't believe they're based out of London. They had people from Brazil, they had people from all over the world. And it's like one of these. So this was a PR exercise. And, you know, having people who are prominent voices in the Tolkien community come to this conference in England, in Oxford, to have guest lecturers, have a meal. It's like, it's one of those, you know, I'm sure they would say they were still free to say they didn't like the show or not, and you know, I'm sure that may still happen, but it is that kind of queasy thing of, oh, so you've accepted stuff from Amazon, from the creators of the show, and you've gotten a bit wined and dined, and you've gotten exclusive access to the showrunners. It's like, I don't really feel that great about that. that that I'm gonna have to see how much that will taint things in my mind going forward, listening to them talk about the show, which is a shame because, you know, they're very thoughtful, knowledgeable people on this, but I don't really need to know. I don't really need to know. Well, not really need to know. It's like, is this necessary? I mean, I guess that's the thing is, I was accepting that they were taking the dribs and drabs that everybody was getting, and, you know, doing a certain amount of speculation on, you know, what kind of decisions were they going to make, play their own kind of mind experiments in their head of like, oh, what kind of decisions would we make? But then, if you're flown to England, if I was flown to England and wined and dined, I'd say that's an influence, and that's not great. That's not a great thing. So, yeah, I just figured I'd discuss that for this dark episode. It's yeah. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Just not happy. More videos later.